Ryan Day's coach of the Buckeyes, third year, 3 full years, won 90% of his games. You know, Ryan, it's interesting about that, and I give you credit for that because the world's changing. I mean, listen, you start looking at who's winning every NFL division, the scores of these games, even against, quote, great defenses. Ryan, it's hard to stop anybody. The middle of the field now is the offensive coaches, not the defensive coaches. You guys have pivoted very nicely. Was there a moment, an epiphany 3 or 4 years ago when you sat down, maybe it was at Urban and you had a conversation like, we have really got to look at the way the world is changing in this sport?
Yeah, hey Colin. It was something exactly like you're talking about. I came into Ohio State, and when we started recruiting quarterbacks, I got a lot of the feedback from recruits and their families. Well, the history of the quarterback play, there's been certainly some really good quarterbacks who have played here, but just historically, they were asking about that. And I said, well, we're really about to transition into throwing the ball a lot more. And one of the reasons why is I just think, the athleticism of the players now are much different than maybe they were in decades past. You look at all sports, you look at basketball, and obviously now you look at football. It's about spacing. It's about, making teams defend the entire field. And guys are just so powerful and strong nowadays. You have to create space. And that's what throwing, the passing game does in college football now. And I think it's critical to make a run late. Now, you still have to be able to run the football. Sure. That's a critical part, and the balance is important. But proud of what we've done, and it's an exciting time to be a quarterback or a wide receiver at Ohio State.
It's really interesting. So I watched C.J. Stroud. It was last year. It was early. It could have been the Oregon game. And I remember remarking, I'm not sure C.J. Stroud believes in C.J. Stroud yet. I see the talent. I see the size. I see the whip. And then I watch him later in the year. And I'm like, and I said it on the air, I'm like, that is the most improved quarterback in America. I don't know what it is, but he's way more confident. So what did I see? Because game 1 or 2 and game 9, Ryan, I felt like I saw a different player. That was my interpretation.
I think you did. And I think, first off, you saw a talented player. He's very talented. He sees the field. He prepares really well. His anticipation is excellent. He's very competitive. But I think what you saw somebody who didn't have the year before an opportunity to get on the field and throw a college football pass. He went into this season without ever throwing a pass, a touchdown, an interception. And so because of that, there's still everything he was doing for the first time. And there was a learning process there. And, you have to believe in yourself. You have to do it before you can believe in yourself. And, some other, seasons, before in the past, before COVID hit and those type of things, we were able to get guys meaningful snaps, in some of the lopsided games. Like even this year, we were able to get Kyle McCord some snaps so that as he goes into the next year, he's more comfortable. But he came in without any experience.
Yeah. And
then you could see quickly he got himself to a point where he was comfortable, and certainly ended the season in the Rose Bowl. That was probably his best game.
Yeah, no. Again, by the way, against a really good team. Utah's got really good coaches, maybe one of the best linebackers in the country. I want to ask you about 2 receivers. Take your time on this because the game is changing. There are a lot of teams in the league that are going to be interested in 2 of your receivers. Let's start with Garrett Wilson. What should I expect if I've just seen him as a fan? What does he do that's special in your opinion?
Well, the first off, he's extremely competitive. He loves to play the game. I mean, he the bigger the moment, the more he wants to play. His catch radius is off the charts. His ball skills, we were recruiting him down in Lake Travis, down in Texas. You could see it back then. He was a basketball player. Dad is a Hall of Famer at Davidson. So it was in his background of just great, tremendous ball skills. But he can time up down the field. He can jump up and get a deep ball. He knows how to set up defenders.
Look at that.
He's very powerful in change of direction. He knows how to, play in space. But overall, I just think, the way he's changed his body and the way he attacked the offseason in this past year, he just exploded on the scene this season. And I think any team is going to be lucky to get him.
Okay, Chris Olave is another unbelievable Buckeye receiver. How's he different? What if I didn't see him? You're selling me I'm a GM in the NFL, and I say, Ryan, I don't know. There's a lot of guys out there. Tell me about Chris.
Chris probably is, the best I've ever been around of tracking a deep ball. He can really fly. When you think of like Deshaun Jackson down the field, being able to just open up the game and stretch out the game, he is unbelievable in that area. Can stop, start, and kind of really time up those deep balls, and he's got tremendous top end speed. He's strong. He's got really good ball skills, powerful hands. When you look at what he did here over 4 years, some of the most clutch plays in the history of Ohio State football were made by Chris Olave. In the biggest games, he played his best.
Yep, he did. That's a great point, by the way. He was a great big game player. It's interesting, kind of a macro topic here, Ryan. I am for the NIL. I am for players having mobility. I've had it in my career. I'd be a total hypocrite if I wasn't for it. This is what worries me about the transfer portal. Number one is there's no in-season integrity. Labor Day to December 20th, I don't think players should be able to move around to your rival. He's not happy. He decides to go to Purdue. You got to give me some. Even the NFL's got a trade deadline. Like, I want in-season integrity. After that, go where you want to go. The other thing I worry. So let's start with that. That bothers me, and I am pro mobility. Your thoughts on all the transfer portal stuff you're seeing now?
I agree with you. I think there has to be some guidelines in place for that. Otherwise, they're just like you're saying. There's no rules, and really no other sport or game is designed where someone can just leave in season and go to another school or whatever they want, just go to another program. So I think that there needs to be guidelines and a timeline set on when guys are able to transfer to other schools. Okay, now the NIL. Again, I'm for it. Here's what I worry about, is that there are coaches that are we have a record. They're really good with quarterbacks. They're really good with defense. I don't want it to be a bidding war because the player Ohio State, you could outbid 90% of college football for players. But in the end, there are players that may not fit you. You look at them, you look at kids all the time that are four-star guys, and you're like, it doesn't fit what we do. I worry that it's a bidding war, and a 19-year-old kid, in many instances, he's just going to take more money. That doesn't mean it's a better fit for him long-term. I worry about that. How do you view the NIL operation? Well, there's a lot that goes with that for sure. But I do think talking to families and recruits, they do understand that there's tremendous opportunity in the NIL space. And a lot of it has to do with how well you play, how well you're being developed, the situation in the school that you're at. And so while there's opportunities for these guys on the front end, and certain schools are going to be able to offer different things, in the end, what's going to matter is that they're going to the right school, getting developed, and having an opportunity to possibly, well, first off, they're going to have to do well in college to have more opportunities. Right. But then if their hopes are to go play in the NFL, what matters is how they're being developed and how well they that's right, ascend into the game. And I think, to me, families and recruits are still going to focus on that because in the end, that's where the real money will be for them. Ryan Day, Ohio State, 34-4. That's pretty good. He brings back a ton of talent next year. Notably CJ Stroud, who is just going to be, can you imagine that there's so many good young quarterbacks in this sport. Everybody's complaining about this year's NFL draft for quarterbacks. Next year and the year after, wow. By the way, you're seeing all this. We only got a minute left, but you're seeing all this talent in the high school level. Ryan, I see high school footage of quarterbacks now. I can't believe how good they are. I mean, it's incredible what all these 7-on-7 camps have done for the last 15 years. Yeah, that's it. I think it's really come along. The ability to throw and catch is as high as it's ever been. Yeah. And so because of that, you're seeing higher level of quarterback play and wide receiver play, like you're talking about. And it's exciting for the sport, but we need it because we need that more and more of that space because those guys inside are getting bigger and stronger as well. Ryan, great seeing you. Go Buckeyes. Thanks again, my friend. Thank you. Cool. Much respect, Colin. Thanks so much. Great coach at Ohio State. They win a lot of football games, and they got a good one in Ryan Day. Very young, smart guy. And by the way, you have a right to occasionally lose to your rival. People are crazy. Lincoln Riley once lost to Texas. Well, the program, you're allowed to lose to Michigan every 4 or 5 years. Jim Harbaugh got to a Super Bowl. Fans, take a deep breath. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.